Hello, everybody. My name is Benny, and welcome to The Fool's Apprentice. Today is our tarot chat series, and I have somebody from around the world, or on the other side of the world, I should say. Will you please introduce yourself once again?
No worries. Hi, everyone. I'm Angie. I'm from A Cup of Tarot, and I am from the Philippines. So
From the
Benny has very graciously extended his recording time to do it at night, so I could do it in the morning. Natural light.
What time is it over there right now?
It is 9:20 a.m.
Okay, so that means it's 8:20 a.m.
Yeah.
for me. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the y- I don't think did you just started a tarot channel when we first met for the tarot one card study, correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'd been on Instagram since 2021 with the tarot account, but I just started my YouTube when we had our first chat. Yes. Yeah,
Okay. And so let everybody know what your social media is, and then I'll post it at the end.
sure. So I'm a cup of tarot on IG and I am a cup of tarot on YouTube as well. So super easy, pretty consistent throughout. But yeah, I don't have a lot of videos on there yet. I think it's more like a video journal than it is anything else.
Yeah, but still, it's a tarot channel.
Yes, yes.
So let's go back
Mhm.
and tell me how you first were introduced to the tarot.
Well, it was the middle of the pandemic, so mid 2021, actually earlier 2021, and I had been going through a breakup, as you
Mm.
do as a lot of people did during the pandemic. And a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I have this tarot reader that I watch on YouTube that does a lot of like love readings," and I just on a whim was like, whatever, it'll just be something interesting to pass the time. Um, and then I was like, whoa, that's that describes what I'm going through a lot. And I started to see tarot in a different way, because I had been raised very religious. So a lot of like tarot was evil, all it
Mm.
summons things. And um, so I started seeing how tarot was actually just like insights. And that's when I started leaning into it. And I started with an oracle deck. And then after about 6 months, I moved to tarot. Yeah.
But okay, so you ended up seeing somebody on YouTube, a friend introduced you.
Yep.
So you started with Oracle.
Yeah.
What was your first Oracle deck?
It's no longer with me, but it was the Work Your Light Oracle by, is it Rebecca Campbell, I think? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, very star seedy, which is not usually my vibe, but it was exactly what I needed. I was like, this is so affirming. So it was lovely. And I got to just feel like this is uplifting. This is not summoning anything or, anyone. This is just uplifting. And if you want to do it that way too, more power to you. Like tarot can be used in so many ways.
And how did you end up using Oracle cards? Because each Oracle cards have their own system. It's just an individual system for every Oracle card.
Yeah.
How did you use them?
So it was like the gateway for me into tarot, just because tarot seemed super intimidating. Um, and I still had some of that like religious trauma to work through. And I saw Oracle as like safer. Like these are affirmations. I pull a card. It doesn't really matter. Like I just saw them as like pull a card a day and get a cool message. And that's kind of how I saw it at first. Yeah. What about you? Did you start right away with tarot, or did you have any sort of entry into tarot?
Uh, my memory is not the best. It's so bad that I've worked with people for a year and still don't know their names. That's how bad it is. It's sad. So it's what I believe I ended up getting my first deck was a tarot deck. I forget the name of it, but I could see the image of it. I finally remembered because I was
Mm,
going through my Amazon purchase history,
yeah.
and there it was. Oh, that's right. It's the first deck. Um, I don't remember the name of it right off the bat, but my real practice began with oracle cards as well. I
Mm,
found them safer. I found them easier to use.
mm,
It was just like putting on an old shoe.
mm,
It just felt right at the time. And I
yeah.
still use them quite a bit today. They help me tune into my intuition. Like
Yes.
I feel like I have really good intuition. Intuition has really played a big part in my life in keeping me safe.
Yeah.
And so the oracle cards really allowed me to tap into it
Mm,
and learn how to have a conversation with it through
yeah.
the cards. So it really helped in developing that confidence. So even
Mm,
though I may not know what all the cards are in front of me, I
yeah.
could still read a card based on the image, even though it was very basic.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how I kind of felt about Oracle as well. It was just yeah, it was safer, it was easier. And I mean like safer, I guess, psychologically for me, you know? And I didn't have to memorize and I had been intimidated by like 78 cards. That's a lot of work.
that's
Yeah.
and then people want to study reversals, so that's double that. I'm like, no,
Oh,
not
I
doing.
was so reversal scared the crap out of me.
I'm not doing reversals. I don't know if I'll ever read reversals unless one shows up by accident. The cards upright will tell me what I
Oh,
need
I'm
to
the
know.
same way. Oh,
So,
what's happening?
do you know what your first tarot deck was? Do you remember?
I have it with me.
Oh,
So
let me see.
my first tarot deck, well, actually, okay, this is technically my second tarot deck, but it's the one I learned on. The first tarot deck I got was the Lucid Dreams Beginners Tarot deck.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The
Really?
Goldie one.
Yeah,
Gold. Yes, it's beautiful. I owned it.
it's so beautiful. I got it in hand, linen finish, but I couldn't read with it because it was too beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Like I was just like, I don't see myself in these cards. These figures are just amazing. So I was watching Lisa Papez's YouTube and she had done a walkthrough of the Tarot of the Mystical Moment and this became
Oh,
the deck that I learned on.
deck.
Yes. It was not it isn't Rider Waite Smith in terms of meanings, but the imagery is not like it's not a clone. It kind of goes its own way. So I don't know how I started learning this, but I definitely did. Like it's just it goes its own way. Yeah, like
It's very not a clone, I don't think in any
no,
way, shape, or form.
no.
So I'm really curious because there are a lot of people like yourself who
Yeah,
end up using other decks as their starter deck and learning the tarot,
yeah.
uh, not Rider-Waite-Smith based. Do
Hmm.
you find that learning on a deck that doesn't follow the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition kind of helped you in a way that you probably wouldn't have learned otherwise when working with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck?
Yes. I think it's a personal thing, right? I know a lot of people that for them that foundation of RWS is super important and then they can move to like intuition. My personality is A-type perfectionist. There's so much symbology in the RWS color,
Mhm.
detail that I would have stressed myself out being like, but what does this coin mean? And if it's on the left and if it's on the right, and why is it red? So I'm glad that I started with a more feeling intuitive deck and still
Ah,
not picked up an RWS, but never say never.
I'm really interested. So you haven't picked up it, and how long have you been? 2021, so like 4 years?
Almost, yeah,
So,
3 years.
so what is it about the Rider-Waite-Smith 4 years later that
Yeah.
still you haven't picked it up?
Well, person of color, right? Like I'm Indian by descent. I don't see myself in the traditional RWS. And I
Okay, I
know
think
now there's a bunch of like RWS that has been recolored, updated for diversity, but I feel like the clothing is still very like um old England, I guess. And I there's something maybe it's the Indian in me. I'm like, there's something that just doesn't connect. So, but I do actually look up like the pictorial key to the tarot, and I try to look up the symbology. I just don't feel the need to have the physical cards with me, but I'm trying to
Well,
learn.
I am going to challenge you
Oh, okay. Yes.
to find a deck from
Yes.
Rider-Waite-Smith
Mhm.
that you because there are a lot of clones
Yes.
that aren't all, white Caucasian
Yeah.
people that are from a certain time and don't wear the kind of clothing that represent me. There are a lot. And I really think if you did some research, you would find one.
Yeah.
Now, if you decide not to do it, no big deal. But
Mm.
I think you'd be pleasantly surprised because we have some amazing tarot artists that
Yeah.
have done some phenomenal work
Yes.
with the tarot.
I'm open to it. Like I think in the beginning I had sort of an aversion to RWS, but now I'm like, no, I think I just need the right deck.
I will tell you, I did not want this deck. I did
Okay.
not want this deck. But then I ended up getting connected and free the Oracle deck, and then Lisa Papez. We're always going to mention her.
Yes.
Paired these together, and I had to have it because it paired well together. And I
True.
think this is a very eclectic deck because it's much more modern.
Yeah.
It has different people of color, different body shapes,
True.
people that are able-bodied, and a whole bunch of. Have you seen This Might
Oh,
Hurt?
this might hurt. Yes, I have seen that.
I think this would be one because, like Justice, woman
Sneaky.
of color, she's wearing a
Yes.
suit. Turn. Um, Here you don't have people, but you got rabbits, which I think
That's
is really cute.
adorable. Yeah.
The Two of Wands, getting prepared to go on a trip.
Yeah.
So oh, okay. Two men.
Oh, I
I love.
love. I love that.
So I think this might be something,
Yeah.
that it's traditional, but it has its own spin. I just
I
because I have it in hand, I appreciate it a lot more than
guess
I thought I ever would. Because really, frankly, I was just like, "That's a comic book. I don't want it." But
that's the
I'm
thing
glad.
is art styles that you think will appeal to you, and then you get them in hand and you find that it doesn't. And art styles that you think don't appeal to you, and you get them in hand and you're like, actually, this really works for me.
Yeah, yeah. Like the Somnia, not the Somnia, the Spoiler Tarot. I
Ooh.
wanted it because I thought they were beautiful. I
Yeah.
liked the images. I thought it was very intimidating, but
Yeah.
also I wanted it because it was, to be honest, I wanted it because it was sought after deck, and I
Mhm.
collect well. But when I got it, it just hit me like a brick,
Yeah.
and it is my favorite deck by far,
That is
by
awesome.
and it literally is not the most expensive deck monetarily that I've paid for.
Mm.
Uh, it holds a really special place for me.
No, that's awesome.
And so when you started, see, so my questions for you are going to be very different because most people start right away Smith. So
Yeah.
what challenges did you face in learning the tarot with that specific deck?
Well, I actually relied heavily on Lisa's walkthrough because when she does the walkthrough, she really goes through every card and like what's the meaning or how she sees the images versus what's the traditional RWS meaning. So that really
Hmm.
helped me. I was listing down notes. I was taking down notes while she was going through her walkthrough, and I was like, that's a cool way to see it. Because if I just look at the RWS meanings and the imagery of the mystical moments tarot, like I don't see how they connect necessarily.
I either, personally.
Yeah. So it was really it was her video on that. And then I did go through her tarot with training wheels course as well.
Well, what did you think of that?
I loved it. I still have to pick up Unlocking the Tarot, her book, but it was so helpful to have someone explain it in an easy to digest way, in a
Mm-hmm.
fun way. Like, I didn't feel like this is too intimidating because it's so esoteric and I've never been involved in that. So it was I'm really glad that she's curated that space for people.
Yeah, I think what she does really well in that with that is she meets you where you're at. For the beginners, it was specifically for beginners. So she
Yeah,
meets you where you're at. She uses language that is really easy to digest, and she
yeah.
breaks things down to its core meanings. But
Mm,
for me, what really impacted me the most above everything else was her emphasizing, if this doesn't work for you, choose your own
yeah,
thing that works for you. Like if this card, this word doesn't match, pick your own. It
yeah.
has to resonate with you. And I did a series on tarot with training wheels. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
didn't.
yeah, so I what I did is I would go through, let's say, the cups with her, and I would do the whole thing. I would journal and write, and then I would do a video on what I learned, what that
Nice.
experience was like for me, just like a little review. And I did it with a whole series.
Mm,
Uh, and I learned a lot as well. And I found that, you know what? I didn't agree with her with everything, which also made me feel like, because she gave me permission over and over again not to have to, it
mm,
really freed me to come up with my own meanings that was, to this day, some of them resonate very strongly
yeah.
with my own meanings that came up.
Yes. I think that's so that was really difficult for me, to be honest, because I, again, control freak here. Like, I need to follow a system, but
Yeah.
some things just really didn't, like, I don't see it this way. And that's why you have, the diversity that you do in the tarot world, because how you read is how you perceive the world and how you're shaped and all these things. So every reader is bringing like an individual take, which is why I love the project that you're doing, where you do one tarot card with someone, and you film that
Mhm.
series, because it just brings out perspectives that I would never have thought about when I see tarot.
Let me tell you, I am learning so much. People are, oh, I forget who it is. Again, I'm horrible with names. Don't kill me.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was a woman who, and I really enjoyed our conversation. Gosh, she was so interesting, and our conversation was fascinating to me.
Mm,
But she gave me a different insight on the chariot card, where the mind was, for me, the mind was the chariot that you
mm,
phenomenal. So the mind was the charioteer, and the body was the actual, like, two spinks. It was really, really a mind-boggling kind of
that gave me
experience. So
goosebumps.
it's
Come
really
on.
it was just very unique perspective that resonated with me,
Mm,
that will always stay with me.
yes.
So so and you used, training wheels. Were there any particular cards that you were just like, "Yeah, I'm not getting it, and I don't know why?"
God. Temperance was one for me that was like a massive, like, what in the world? The justice and the judgment. Just,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Because I was always like, isn't that the same thing? And yeah, totally different.
You do you still think it's the same thing?
No, no, now I
Yeah,
have a totally different view. And
yeah.
when I sort of sorted that out for myself, because I was reading up on, gosh, other people's definitions of justice versus judgment. I went to podcasts, I went to books and all these things, and I still was like, I don't see the difference with how they explain it. But it really is what you said, like when you find that meaning that resonates for you, it clicks,
Mhm.
and then it's like you always see it then from that angle instead of being confused about things. Oh, my camera
Yeah.
just zoomed in.
Oh, that's there you go.
There you
No,
go.
for me, I love talking about justice and, judgment.
Mm,
For me, one of them is internal and one of them is external. You
mm,
know, justice is external, looking at the facts of a case and the people
yeah.
involved and making a decision based on what you see and what's presented.
Mm,
Judgment is looking in within the choices you made, all that kind of stuff that, because when it's all said and done, you're the person that has to look yourself in the mirror,
that's true.
So that's how I see those. I can go on and on with all these cards.
Yeah.
So, what cards really resonate with you? Like, what's your favorite card? Is it the one that we did?
Strength is one of my favorite cards, definitely. But I have to say, and it changes, right, per season. I have to say now, actually, Judgment is one of my favorite cards.
Really? That is so
Uh,
interesting.
yes, because I see Judgment in the like in the symbolism of a baptism. That's how I kind of see it, where you go in baptism, right, for whatever faith. But the method of it is you put yourself underwater and kind of wash out all the stuff you want to leave behind. And you come out and you're like, I'm cool. I've forgiven myself. I'm good. I can, so I see judgment as like releasing the burdens that you've put on yourself. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, did you have a card or two that,
Mhm.
like, what were the most difficult cards for you to learn? Because you did mention Justice and Judgment, but like, what card, like, you wanted to rip up and never see ever again?
Temperance. Had to be temperance. Every time temperance came up and they were definitions were always alchemical this and and I don't know much about
Yeah.
it. So I was like, what is temperance? Is it just moderation? I feel like it's more than that. So yeah, it was one of those. What was your card that you were like, no, I'm noping out of here?
I think the High Priestess was a bit of a challenge for me.
Ah,
And I don't want to even mention the court cards because
oh,
I think most people struggle with them. Um, I th- and then for a little bit, it was the Five of Swords and the
mm,
Five of Wands.
mm,
Uh, that that stumped me for a little, but once I got it, I was fine.
yeah.
Um, uh, and the way I finally I took it to the extreme. Uh,
Mm,
boys, Five of Wands, boys competing against each other,
mm,
Five
mm.
of Swords, men fighting to the death,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they're competing both, but
Yeah.
they're very different. One is life or death, the other one is like ego and competition,
Mm.
so
I'm curious about how you read as well. Like, do you do things based on your understanding of RWS meanings and its memorization, or do you do like like some people read elementally and then numerologically? Like, okay, wands is passion and fire, and then fives would be a contraction, and then it kind of tweaks the meaning of it.
yeah. So the way I read is first and foremost, I allow the message to come up. I find that when I try to control what is going to come up, like when I
Mm.
resist what's coming up, the reading is not authentic and I really don't get anything out of it. I
Mm.
don't necessarily read from left to right unless the spread requires it.
Mm.
I read from what card resonates with me the most, like what is the main message. Then the rest of the cards kind of support that main message.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite, and so yes, I do stick generally to the meaning, but
Mm.
very loose.
Okay.
Like I will read the meaning in the book,
Yeah.
and then I once I read it, I forget about it, and that essence of what that meaning is comes
Mm.
up in the.
That's amazing.
My favorite one to do, and I don't remember who I learned this from. It was a tarot tuber. The middle card, I want to say Krista, but then I want to say somebody else. But the middle card is the goal for the day.
Okay.
The left card in his three-card spread, the left card is what I need to do to accomplish my goal for the day, and
Mm.
the card on the far right are the things that can come up that will block me from accomplishing my goal. And I
Mm.
did that for several months,
Yeah.
and because I did that particular practice because I didn't want to study one card pools. I just thought
Yeah.
that would be tedious and take a long time, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't get to learn all the different things about the card. So
Mm.
having three cards forced a lot of different things to happen at the same time, and for
Mm.
me, I think that's really benefited me a lot.
That's I did the same thing you did, like the three card pulls, because again, with the one cards, I was like, how am I going to learn? It's super helpful to do, but I think it's also we're impatient people, aren't we? Or like, no, I want to get there faster than, than I have planned in my mind. Um, but I also like to read where I might pull three cards. Usually that's the most that I'll pull, usually. And I don't have a spread. And sometimes when I look at the cards, a meaning starts to emerge, and then I'll rearrange them and be like, no, I feel like the third card, I'm gonna put it in the center. It feels like the anchor to this. So it's almost like I don't have a question. I just pull, and then I'm like, huh, something is just revealing itself to me. So it's
There,
cool.
I, I, I don't think maybe one person, but I don't think I've heard anybody talk about how they move the cards around. So I
Mm,
find that because I don't, I just let them be where they are, and I look how they intertwine. So if like the card's right next to it or far further away, I'm trying to get I'm trying to get to 5 card spreads now. So I'll do 5 card spreads, but then within a few days, I see myself going back to 3 cards. And then I go back to 5 cards and I see myself going back to 3 cards. Uh, I need to expand. How long do you think it took you from the time that you got the Mystical Moments deck to
mm.
where you felt confident using the deck?
I would say like 3 months where I felt confident for myself. For myself, like not at all for other people.
Wow. I think that's amazing.
A type. I was like, I'm gonna study this 24/7. So I think it was that I really was just like, I mean, during the pandemic, we all had a lot more time than normal. So, well, most of us, not all.
Not me. I worked at a psychiatric
Oh,
hospital.
you did not have a lot more time.
I actually had less time because they half the staff got furloughed. I
Oh,
was one of the lucky ones that got to stay, so I was working 12-hour shifts all the time.
and
So
your industry, sorry, I should have said except for the healthcare industry, was
yeah,
like they were the ones that were most affected, I think, by that. Just
yeah.
in terms of work hours.
Specifically the nurses, because they're there nonstop.
The
Uh, and so um, it didn't affect me as much because
mm,
the people that were coming in, it didn't seem different. I was
mm,
still dealing with same type of mental illness.
yeah.
COVID didn't necessarily change mental
Mm,
illness, how it presented itself when I was working with somebody. The
mm,
people were different, but how it presented was very, very similar.
that's intriguing. Do you
So tell
did
me,
you pick up,
look,
oh sorry, did you pick up tarot around that time as well? Because I feel like forget when you
uh,
pick up.
yes,
Yeah.
actually. So I initially picked up tarot in 2013 for
Hmm.
like a month, maybe a month and a half, and then I got accepted to grad school. There was
Yeah.
no way I was time for it.
Uh,
Then I completely forgot about it, didn't even look at it. I mean, literally, it did not exist for anymore. And then I turned on the channel 2 years ago. So while I was working there,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with it. Like the spark that happened the first time was there the second time.
Mhm.
But it felt much more. Um, it pulled me in much harder than it did the first time.
Yeah.
Like I went a little psycho with like the books and the cards and watching all
So
these
real.
tarot.
Mhm.
It was a bit much.
I can relate. But was it helpful to you during that time? Because like what does tarot bring to you, I guess, is my question. Because I feel like especially when you find it again, I guess, and during a really unique time in the world, there must be some imprint.
I think there was a couple of things that it did for me. One, it brought me great joy, and I
Hmm.
hadn't experienced joy in quite some time.
Hmm.
Uh, it was something that I was always looking forward to doing, and I hadn't had that in a long time.
Mhm.
But I think more importantly than anything else, what it did is it allowed me to start having a relationship with myself again, and it allowed me to get to know myself all over again. And in that process, it became a spiritual practice where now tarot is a very strong spiritual practice for me.
Hmm.
I use tarot to connect with whatever is out there for me.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think I mainly use tarot for personal growth. So I ask questions like, how can I be of service to the clients today? Or if I have a meeting, what's the most important thing that I need to do when I go into a meeting? Or how do I become a kinder person today? Or how
Mm.
do I, you know, be present for someone to like it's always about growing. How do I connect spiritually today? It's really about being a better version of who I was yesterday. And some days it works great, and other days it's like, no, I'm the same person as yesterday.
Yeah. Oh,
And you?
well, I, it was just meant to be something fun.
Mhm,
And it is, but I was also going through some really intense therapy, not just because of pandemic, and because of the breakup, but also I've always had to deal with mental health issues, and I've been in and out of therapy over the years.
mhm,
And tarot became this thing where I didn't just leave what I learned in therapy at therapy. I would pull cards the next day, like because I'm not in therapy every day. At the time, it was once a week. Um, and I'd pull a card and I'd reflect on how that related to my therapy discussions and practice. And it started giving me a way to bring those concepts into my real world, to keep them fresh in my mind, to reflect on them at a later time when I'm not so activated. So it was this beautiful, grounding, spiritual practice for me. I really loved it.
there is, there is a lot of research on tarot and therapy. I'm a mental health therapist. People are gonna be tired of me saying that. I didn't say it for forever, and then I finally opened up about it but I'm trying to remember her name, Bloom. She's a therapist and she does a lot of workshops on how to use tarot and therapy, and she has some really, really great books on Amazon that I'll
Oh,
put in the link below uh,
please.
for everybody. I think you might like some of them because they actually use the tarot for introspection and
Yes.
getting unstuck. I tend to use them to get unstuck because
Mm,
sometimes I don't know what to do.
yeah.
So I'll pull some cards to give me some guidance. And I'll
Mm,
tell you, time, it just really helps. It really does.
yes. And sometimes it's more like a validation of a thing that you didn't want to explore. Or,
Yeah.
like you knew the answer, but you were like, I didn't really want to hear that." And then the cards are like, "But you know."
And sometimes it's an answer. You're right. It's an answer you don't want to hear, but it's one that you have to hear,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And so, guidebooks. So you use the guidebooks quite a bit. What do you think about guidebooks? Do you still use them even though you know the deck really well? Or yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with using a guidebook, even if you're doing a reading for another person. Just because like there's the wealth that is in each person's perspective. So each deck creator. I love using guidebooks in general. There are a few
Mm,
that I would think are maybe like a cut above the rest as far as what's put into it. Reclaim Oracle, one of the most unique guidebooks that it's like freeform poetry. It's really beautiful. It really hits you. Um, the Lonely Dreamer Tarot guidebook, especially the third edition. So she puts the name of the art piece, which I really appreciate, and then the meaning. So the creator Melissa Witherspoon, she puts meaning. She collaborated with Dr. Esther, gosh, Tishman, I forget. But she is on TarotTube as well under Mindful Tarot, and she has a really unique way of
yeah.
learning a tarot card, and that was all in the guidebook. So I was like, this is amazing. So I love that. I love that so
Let
much.
me tell you. Do you have the Gentle Tarot?
I used to, and I had the book, and I loved it. So
That
me,
guide, it is the most
me,
powerful guide.
yeah,
Like, I didn't want the Gentle, that's one. I did not want the Gentle Tarot. It was not
yeah,
for me. Tarot
Yeah.
the man is it was a very strong, natural, feminine
Yes.
energy, like for me, like overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it. But then I ended up seeing Annette from Project Refine Life.
Hmm.
She's going to be, I remember her channel name. And she just talked about it in a way that made me go, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And it was the book the guidebook that sold me on that deck. That guidebook is a
Okay.
masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece.
It was like 2, 3 pages per card, and just it was
Reflect
amazing.
questions. I mean, it
Yeah.
is it is a it is a mental for me, it is a healing deck. The book creates healing and really connecting to the earth and the universe and your basic sense of your goodness. I just love that one.
So
I can't speak highly enough of it. I
mm,
really can't.
beautiful, beautiful.
So let's talk about decks.
Okay.
What are your favorite decks in your collection?
Definitely all-time favorite. I mean, there's so many, but all-time favorite is my Lonely Dreamer. I love this.
I've been wanting that deck on and off, but I
I
haven't pulled the trigger on it.
and I love it so much that like I found like fabric to match, and then I put it in this. I had it made. I can't make this stuff. I'm not crafty, but I saw someone that knew how to make it. We looked for fabric together. It's just I don't know what it is about this deck. I was never into art growing up. I was never into like painters. I had no idea what art movements were. I learned so much about the artist from this deck, and it opened up my world to it's just so beautiful. Um, so it feels like a dreamscape, which I guess is why, the Lonely Dreamer.
Hmm.
But it really transports me somewhere. And how I worked with it at first was I'd look up the art piece. And if there was any essays on the art piece, I'd look that up as well. And it was
Really?
very helpful. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Such a nerd.
So I haven't done anything like that, but I think that just I think if you're willing to go to that length to learn the deck, there is something about that deck that speaks to you very deeply.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then I have a couple of new favorites that have come in. The Reclaim is always going to be a massive favorite for me as far as an Oracle deck. This
I
one,
just
oh, did you? Oh, you're gonna,
I'm
Benny.
kickstarting.
I have I have the third edition, and I ordered the Kickstarter edition also because there's new cards, and I was like, I'm going to combine this. So I love her work. This is a new favorite as well. The Venus Morningstar Tarot.
Huh?
It's also a
What is
fine
it?
art deck. It's a fine art deck. It's about Aphrodite as Venus Morningstar, and it's
Hmm.
curated so beautifully. The art is amazing. So it's just there's some powerful energy here as well. And technically, it's like an Aphrodite Venus deck, but there is a lot of strong male energy in here. So I thought it was really intriguing.
Have you had a deck that you're like I either because too complex, you don't
Mm,
like it, the
mm.
energy cut you off, like any decks that you're like never again.
Mhm. So it wasn't necessarily like that I was like, no, never again. It was more like I can't work with this. So I had a couple of unicorn decks out of print that I managed to acquire, which is in particular the Botan Tarot and the Yokai Yochi. People are gonna
Oh,
hate me. People are gonna hate me. Um, but I was after the Botan for 2 years. I know now there's a new edition out, but 2 years ago, there no,
there wasn't. You didn't know there was going to be printed.
no. And I found one for not expensive at all. And I was like, okay, I'm getting this. And I got it in my hands. I loved the art. I could not read with it. I couldn't read
Mhm.
with it. And I'm not a
Yeah.
collector. So
Oh, I will
yeah.
tell you, I've read with it maybe one time. It's right there.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. Beautiful.
I wanted the blue edging. I got the gold
Beautiful.
edging.
Yeah.
Um, but and I got it for cost. The woman was like, I just want my money back.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I'm so lucky with unicorn decks.
Oh my God.
Um, the artwork is stunning, and I considered buying the second one,
Yes.
but I was like, but you don't use it, so why
Yeah.
would you get the second one?
Yes.
So, but I have it there because it's a unicorn deck, and I do collect them.
Mm,
Um, and one day, there might be a deck that's out of print that I really want and I can trade for.
that's
But
true.
it is, I will say, it is it? I'm going to say it's in the top three favorite backs of all time. Those
Gorgeous.
backs are stunning.
So everything about it called to me like as someone that loves anime and just the art, the soft watercolor. It's just I couldn't read with it, and because I'm not a collector, I was like I wanted to go to somebody that will actually appreciate it in the way that they only can. And the Yokai
Now,
Yoshi is another one for me.
I have it, and I have a backup copy still sealed.
Mhm.
Um, I can't read with it.
Same.
The only way I would know how to read with it is if I actually studied the yokai. And then Fairlight Tarot
Yeah.
actually goes really deep in depth on the major arcana.
Yes.
Still need for her to do the minors.
Yeah, I tried to study the yokai. So I'm really interested in looking at Sylvia's series on that because I tried to study the yokai and I couldn't relate the meanings with the cards. And sometimes my brain is just too literal, like I'm like now
Yeah.
that I can't seem to make it fit, it just doesn't read. Um so it's so beautiful. I am saving it for a trade. I am hoping, which is very yes, high hope.
Maybe you want to trade for it. Maybe somebody watching will have
No,
what you
like I'm dying to get my hands on a spolia, but I'm just like I don't know.
need.
Yeah, that's a high hope trade.
No, okay. This is what I tell people. I just did my hashtag a couple of weeks ago. My favorite out of print decks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Spoiler tarot. I have it. I just put it out there. I was very diligent about it,
yeah.
and in a 2 week time span, I got 2 copies for
Wow,
very reasonable prices.
wow.
I'm here to tell you, if you have a unicorn deck that you want, I'm like, be diligent.
Mm,
Believe that it can come in your way. And I believe that it will. Like if it's meant to be, it will.
yeah.
Uh, it is what the people call your soul deck. It is mine by far. Like I could only save one thing in my house, one thing,
That,
it would be the spoiler tarot. Everything else could go. My
oh,
dogs would have to come too, but
of
other
course.
than that, that's the one thing I would say above anything else.
Amazing. Wow.
So, what is a deck that you have that you thought you would never get?
The Terra Volatile.
Really?
Yes. It's so esoteric. It just didn't seem to be my vibe, where I was super intimidated by learning to read with it. Because when I saw people do walkthroughs, they would be like, "Oh, there's so much sacred geometry in here," and I'm like, "There's just to learn."
But when I first heard that, I was like, "What's sacred? What's sacred geometry? I don't even know what that
But
means."
and now I'm intrigued, and I'm like, now I want to learn what this is all about, and I'm just stopping myself because I don't have the time right now. But
Oh yeah, and the suit of vessels. I'm like, what does even that mean? Oh
yes,
my God.
there's a lot of alchemical references as well, and I sometimes feel like I'm not a beginner tarot reader, but certainly in other areas I am such a beginner tarot reader.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what's
Um,
the deck for you,
the
Michelle?
Tarot was my second favorite deck.
Oh,
But
nice.
before I answer your question,
Mhm.
when I said what card didn't you don't think a deck you wouldn't get, you went comprehension. I meant possess.
Ah.
So
Oh,
the language is so complex as well. So,
True.
is there a deck that you were like, "I don't think I'll ever" like, right now, it's the spoiler. Hopefully, one day that'll be your
Yeah,
answer. The spoiler, I never thought I'd get it. Is
absolutely.
there one now?
I honestly, it was the Yokai Yochi. Definitely that one, because um they had the last copy that I got, the one I'm looking to trade for. Like I remember the creator had put it up random times
Mhm.
and no announcement, no like flagging. You just had to keep checking the website.
Yep.
And I randomly was up at 2 a.m. and I was like, I'm up, I'll check the website. And there was one listed, and I was like, bye. So that was the one that I was like, I would never get this.
Well, like 2 weeks before I had
Mhm.
heard that she was doing that, I got a deck from somebody,
Oh, nice.
and then I heard that there were random drops, so every day I was looking 2, 3 times a day,
Yeah.
and I got and then, like, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, on your phone, you know how you can have multiple browsers open?
Yes.
I was clearing some up, and there was like, "Oh." So I hit on it, the webpage opened up on my phone,
Yeah.
and it refreshed, and there were decks to purchase. So I got one right away.
Gosh.
So, yeah, I think most people probably got it that way with her.
Yeah. And I think it was really like, I know I don't read with it, but I do feel like it was meant to come into my possession, maybe to help me trade for something that I would love.
Tell you, I scored the trade of a lifetime. I ended up
Mhm.
getting the fairy tale tarot,
I saw that.
and
Yes.
for 2 decks. And I was like, this is never gonna happen again. I'm doing it. So,
Such good luck with unicorn decks. I gotta say, every time you get one, I'm so happy for you, and I'm also like, hello, can I have some of that luck rub off on me?
okay, watch. I'm making video. I got another. I'm I know. I can't believe I got this one. So, and I know it's real,
Yeah.
and I know, and I'll tell you in the video why I know it's real, but I can't believe I got it. So, suspense.
Ah, my goosebumps are back.
Yeah, I've been and also I think because I get this, it kind of validates that I'm in the right space.
Yes.
Because why am I getting these decks that people want,
Hmm.
that are hard to find?
Hmm.
Why am I getting it of all the people? And not just 1 or 2, but
Yeah.
like literally it's empty of unicorn decks.
Yes.
Uh, so there is a greater purpose here.
Yeah.
I'm meant to be in this space.
Yeah. I think decks find their owners too. So for
Oh,
however,
I
yeah.
love that. So what I want to know is what inspired you to do your tarot channel?
Well, it was more the Instagram where I was like, I want to show how I read with tarot, which is not in a divination way, which it's just not my gift. I wish it was, but it's not my gift. Um,
Mhm,
but I feel like I marry the things that I learned in therapy with tarot. I wanted to make that more normal. Um, and I would say, someone that is not so private, where I talk a lot about things that are like, mental health, um,
mhm.
trigger warning, sexual abuse, like all this stuff that has been part of my life. And I just wanted to share that with people, because I know that when you see someone else and maybe you feel that way as well, or you can talk about these things, it, it makes it a safer space and you feel not alone.
Yeah,
So,
and it also normalizes it in the sense of that I am not alone, that I am not so unique and so different and so broken that
yeah,
nobody can understand. Same thing with me, I've had those experiences where like I felt so alone
mm,
that I didn't even have anything I could reach out to. Like
mm, yeah,
it was, I've had somebody, and then because I didn't have anybody who I knew was like me.
yeah,
Yes, I think that's very, very
yeah,
um, honorable that you're doing that. I think that's wonderful.
Try.
So what I'm curious is how did you come up with your name, your channel name?
So my really good friend who is an amazing writer, her name's Isa Garcia, she and I were talking about this, and she was one of the people that I had confided in that I'm learning tarot, and she was super encouraging. We both have like a very religious background, and she was like, "Oh, figure it out, explore." And we were brainstorming. I said, "I want to start this tarot IG, and I want something that will make people feel comfortable. I'm not great with names, and she was. She's written some books, and she just said, I feel like when I talk to you about tarot and when you read for me, that it's like cozy. And she's like, and you're always drinking tea. And I like, I have chai every morning. I'm always like, yes, come over. I'll make you tea. We'll chat. We'll do tarot cards. So she's like, what about a cup of tarot? And that was it really. So I give up full credit to her for that. Otherwise, I would have done something strange.
No, I think it's beautiful and it has meaning behind it.
Yeah. So it's
So
lovely.
how do you decide what content you're going to post? Like, do you come up with a plan of what you want to post? Are you inspired by something? Is it like what makes you decide what you're going to do and post it?
Well, I really don't have much of a plan about anything. Like, I really treat it as like a video diary. And if I feel
Mm,
called to do something, even on YouTube, um, then I'll do it. But for example, I did a recent tag called Tarot Grounding Plan because I was learning like a grounding plan in therapy where it helps me remember certain things to come back to myself. And I just related it to tarot. Now I know that is probably not a tag that is gonna get any or much traction because it's super personal when you do stuff like that. So I didn't do it for for the views or like hope people respond to this. It's always nice and that happens. Um, but I got a lot of messages privately saying, "Hey, we did this. We just don't want to do a VR. It's super personal, but it was so helpful." And to me, if I put out something that is or fun, helpful or fun or both, then I'm good. But I don't have a plan. I don't have a schedule. I have a really busy job, and I just try to once in a while connect with whoever is out there that wants to see what I bring. So yeah, but
and go ahead.
no, but I wanted to say I benefit so much from the people in the community that are so intentional about what they put out and scheduled because honestly it nourishes me to be able to go and do what I want to do because there's such a wealth of content that I can absorb myself in.
Hmm. Like if I sat down today and watched every single tarot channel video, I'd sit there for decades, I think,
Yeah.
because there's so much information,
Yeah.
and nuance.
And I love listening to your chats about, one card studies. I love going to Lisa's channel for hauls and seeing what's out there, this or that. I really love that. I love Project Refined Life as well because it's so
Oh,
bite sized and there's something about her voice that's very ASMR to me.
voice. I always mention her because we're very good friends. Lisa Rainey, she has that voice on Mythical Witchery. But yes, Annette has that voice. I will tell you, the videos that I'm like blown away with are her monthly wrap ups. And
Yes.
I'm, where do you have time to do all of this? And you run a business and you have clients. And I'm like, wow.
And the
Like, wow.
journaling is so pretty, and then like it's bite sized. What I love about her videos too is that they're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes long at the most. So if I'm in a rush, I just want something going on in the background, and I hear that
Mhm.
ASMR. I'm like, this is so soothing.
Yeah.
And then
Uh,
I have to say, oh sorry,
go ahead.
one channel that I love, The Waves of Your Soul, as far as pick a card readings. Like I'm amazed by her pick card readings. And I just think as a personality, so she and I are quite good friends. As a personality, she just gets me. Like all the cussing in between the reading, all the fun little jokes. I'm like, this is how I think.
Yeah, I have her. I like her as well, and she has some really good decks. And she
Amazing.
has such she did a series of continents
Yeah.
and tarot decks.
Yes.
I thought that was ingenious
So
that
cool.
she did, because you got to see culture and how they influence the tarot.
Yeah.
I thought that was so smart.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm surprised nobody else has done it, but
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty fabulous.
It's amazing. I think Sylvia could probably do it. She's got a collection from
And
everywhere.
she travels, so yes, she can.
Yes.
Definitely could as well. But I don't think there are a lot of people that travel like those 2 women that could
Mm,
actually kinda do that. And
true.
also their knowledge is really, really rich.
Yes.
And so being able to bring culture,
Mhm.
folklore, you
Mm,
know, geo geography, I mean, you
yeah.
have to know it.
Yes, absolutely.
What equipment did you start using to do your tarot channel?
The same equipment that I'm using now. It's just my phone. My phone. And then I bought like a stand for the phone. So now I have a little stand. And then I picked up a microphone was the last thing that I picked up. Just a basic microphone, which I'm unfortunately not using because of technical issues, but that's really it. I do have a dream of like having a proper setup one day. One day. Which would be really lovely if I could get the camera, the computer, the mic, like a lovely proper microphone would be great.
You just start
Yeah.
with one thing at a time. Just
Yeah.
one thing at a time. Like I hear that the most important thing is audio. So
Mm,
that's where I would say audio. Get the best microphone that you would want to get.
mm,
Then lighting is really important. So then get the lighting. And then because really with any camera, if you have good lighting and good audio, the
yeah.
audience will the audio the
True.
audience will stay. And the cameras on the phones today are just amazing. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of upgrading my camera right now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so do I need to? No. Do I want to? Definitely. Am I
Yes,
going to? No.
probably. But
So
yeah.
was it a challenge for you to figure out how to record, how to edit, how to upload, all that stuff?
Yes, I still don't edit very much. When I upload to YouTube, I will put in the only thing that I really edit is the what do we call it? The thumbnail or the
Mhm.
yeah, just I'll do that on Canva. I'll upload it. But I the splicing of a video, I'm not there yet. I'm I'm such like a tech just not great with it, you know? So I find it so fascinating when I see all these videos, the amount of time that it must go into producing one tarot video. Because there's splicing, there is, okay, let me edit that part out, let me put superimpose thing in for the viewer to see what cards I'm talking about. Um, and then the upload time alone. So I'm just blown away that people really care about what they put out there, and I'm so impressed and inspired by it. And one day I will attempt more, but as you said, step by step.
Yeah, I will tell you that it was challenging. I'm 55, shocker. Uh, and so I'm in that generation where I kind of straddle
Mm,
technology and, a remote control is as savvy as I get.
there you
So I had to do a lot of YouTube, a lot of frustration, a lot of stopping myself from throwing stuff against the wall, tears. I've actually had tears. But I had such a desire
go.
to be a part of this community that I persevered. Uh,
Yeah,
some editing, I don't do a lot of editing because even when I make some mistakes, I leave them in because
yes,
authentic, it's just me.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. And God forbid if I were perfect, my ego would be huge.
I hear you.
Uh, but and so do you know how many subscribers you have?
It's definitely under, I think it's under 20 at this point. Like,
Under 20?
I think so. I don't, like, I literally am just
Okay.
like posted to the
o-
ether.
Okay, guys, I'm going to put her in the description, her channel. Go over and
Mm.
subscribe. As you can tell, she's small, so let's do that. Let's support her.
Thank you.
Um, Now, are there things, because it sounds like you're open with some of your life experiences. Are there things that you're just hard, no, this is something I would never share on my channel?
Um, well, so much of my life experience is lived in connection with people. So
Hmm.
I really try to only present vague details if I'm talking about a situation that involves another person. And I
Hmm.
try to not um, pass any judgments. I will just say how this affected me, not whether they were right, they were wrong, or whatever. I try to be very cautious about that because I don't want my channel to be a place to like bash people or
Hmm.
um, make it feel like an unsafe space. And also, I think whatever happens between me and a person, like I talk a lot about like relationships and breakups and all that, but a lot of what happens between me and a person is private. I can
Yeah,
share what's happened with me in response to certain things, but I don't want to give details that if ever a person went on my tarot channel would be like, I can't believe that she said that
yeah.
about what happened between us. So,
I do that. I do that in my real life. In fact, I recently had, not recently, several months ago, I had a real major fallout with a friend. It was pretty bad.
mm,
We
mm,
have mutual friends.
mm,
Not once did I bring up our fallout with any of them. Not
yeah,
one time. Because they're friends.
yeah,
And why am I going to muddle somebody's,
mm,
relationship,
yeah,
and I love this person. I'm just super fucking pissed,
yeah,
or real super fucking hurt.
mm,
Um, I make a point because I know the power of a word. I
yeah,
really do.
yes,
And so this person recently came back into my life,
mm,
and
sure,
you know, I don't have to worry about what I've said. They don't have to
exactly,
experience that negativity that it put out there. And so I love that you do that on your channel,
yeah.
because I'm the same way. I really am.
What about you though? Like, is there anything in particular, like a topic or something that you will not broach on your channel?
At the beginning, I never talked openly about being a gay man, the
Mm,
LGBT. I
sure.
think part of that, I think there's two parts to that. One is I grew up at a time where there was a lot of discrimination
Yes.
and it was not safe. And
Mm,
so, even though I feel safe in my community here in my town,
yeah.
going to the internet worldwide didn't feel safe because it was new to me.
Absolutely.
But now, Lisa and Peggy made it very safe for me to be.
Yeah.
I was authentic. That was just an area that I didn't open up about.
Mm,
The other thing I didn't talk about was being a therapist,
mm,
which kind of piggybacks on being gay,
yeah.
is that I didn't want that to affect me later in a future job, let's say.
Yeah.
Frankly, if they don't want me because I'm gay, I don't want to be there. That's always been my philosophy.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern was I didn't want people say, "Oh, Benny's a therapist, and if he does that and he says that, then that'll work for me too." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no, I am not your therapist. I'm a therapist,
Yeah.
not the same thing." So I was very apprehensive to share that because as a therapist, I do know
Yeah.
that it carries
A
some
lot of weight.
credence. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have a sense of authority when I talk about mental health stuff.
Yes.
Um, so those really are the only two things that I've been consciously aware of not talking about.
Mm,
I'm open about it now.
yeah.
That's not true. That's not. So another thing I have not shared
Mm,
is that okay, because you asked, I'm
yeah.
authentic.
Yes.
I have a mental health diagnosis. And
Oh,
so I've never shared on my mental health diagnosis on my channel.
yes. Oh, yeah.
And it's people like you and other people who talk about it that makes it probable that I will. But
Mm,
because I'm a mental health therapist, I'm like, I don't know. I probably won't.
I can imagine how complex that is to be a therapist with a diagnosis and then be public on certain areas. Like, it's a lot. And I think that you handle things so gracefully. Like, it's not about being inauthentic. It's just about being private. And I think
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different, there's different ways to approach that. Not one way is wrong. It's like you get to decide. It's your channel. You get to decide what you be private about, what you're not private about. Um, like I try to always put a content warning on certain things if I talk about certain things.
Oh, I
Um,
love that you do.
I try to. I do sometimes forget, but I know that mention
But it's important because
things can.
it's important because sometimes people can get triggered,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and not realize that that's what was going to pop up, and all of a sudden they have a
yeah.
moment. So I
And
think that's really smart to do that.
I actually asked my therapist, hey, when I have this tarot channel, sometimes I mention what you tell me in session. Can I do that? Because I don't, even if she's my therapist and it's for me, I want to know that I can say her words. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. It's all right. As long as it's just, we only talk about you anyway. So it's fine. Sounds so egocentric.
It's your therapy. You can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
My
Um,
therapist said this, you paid for it, so it's
yeah.
yours.
So yeah, so I kind of do it that way, but I also want to make very clear when I say my therapy practice, I'm always like, I'm not a therapist. I am in therapy. Because and I struggled a lot with that when I was talking about it in tarot because I did not want to come out as some sort of expert. I just had to be like, no, this is what I've learned for me. If you want to try it, but I'm not endorsing it as therapy. Like
Yeah.
it's tricky.
A lot of us, like Dawn Michelle, she'll have disclaimers,
Yeah.
before she does some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm considering doing. I've been playing with the idea of starting a membership where I'd have 3 tiers. One tier would be about where I do readings because it would create a
Mm,
safe people would want to come and
yes.
uh, supportive, and then I can do my readings and practice my readings.
Yeah.
And that tier would have 2 or 3 things that I would do consistently. But my top tier would be mental health based, how to use the tarot for different mental health things that you're experiencing. But there would have to be a disclaimer that,
Yeah.
I'm not your therapist.
Yeah.
This is a practice that you can do that may help, but you have to understand that it might be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You may not like it. If you end
Absolutely.
up having these kinds of symptoms, you might want to actually go talk to a therapist. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm thinking of doing something like that. If I do, it won't be till next year. But
I would love to join that tier when you do that because it's such and it makes so much sense. I think I realized that you were working in the mental health field maybe 3-4 videos ago. I think was when I first caught you mentioning it, and it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense because I didn't know that you were in that field. I think you had alluded to it when we were doing our chat. But then it was like, that's why he knows how to talk to people. That's why he knows how to engage. I'm like, it makes a lot of sense that he would be in that field. So yeah,
I,
so
I, love, I love my job. I love my job. I love
really,
what I do. It is not a job that I wake up not wanting to go to work to.
mm,
I enjoy going. If
yeah,
I don't want to go to work, it's because I didn't get enough sleep. I'm tired. I'm
sure,
sick. When I'm at work, I
yeah,
thrive in that space because
oh,
I think my life has great purpose and I get a
yeah.
lot of self fulfillment from that kind of work that I do.
I really love
So,
that. I I think I connect a lot with people that are affirmers by heart and nature, and that's the vibe that I get. Even with how you marry tarot as well, it's always kind of like it's not tough because I've seen some of your posts where it was like, yes, this is the message that is hitting me, but it's always in a view of empowering someone or empowering yourself. or affirming, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. So, what piece of advice would you give somebody who wants to start a tarot channel?
Whew, just start it. Just do it. Post the shitty video. Post the like weird, unedited, wonky. I think my first video is everything was out of center, and I'm like, it's fine. So just do it. It'll get better the more you do it.
It will get better. I look back at my first several videos, and even like a year ago, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my, I've been green, I've been red, I've been orange, I've
Yeah.
been like off everything. It's horrible. Like I'm showing the card, and like this is a card, and it's like this. And I'm talking about, you see the whole thing.
Yep.
Now, if you had to give a brand new reader,
Mm,
somebody brand new, a deck, a book,
mm.
what would they be?
Ooh, brand new reader. Okay. I don't have the set yet, but I did back
Mhm.
it. I think the Sassy Dragons deck by
Oh,
Peggy.
yeah.
I like I can't believe we didn't have something like that already in this space. Because that would have been so fun for me as a reader to just be like, it's on the card and it's cute. So I think that one for sure. For the
Okay.
book, there's a Jessica Dore book. What is it called? What is it called? Tarot for Change, I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
That book really that book and What the Fuck is Tarot by Bakara Whitner. Those two. One
You're
is
so good with names.
I try, but yeah, like I think Jessica Dore's book is so insightful, and I think she's in the mental health field as well. Um,
Mhm.
so I really love that perspective that she gives.
You studied, yes, yeah, but she's more an editor, I think,
Yeah,
now
not
than she.
practicing, yeah, but I think that was her
Yeah,
background, and
she
it
does have that background.
definitely comes through. Um, and I also loved What the Fuck is Tarot because it was so cheeky and so in your face, and it helped me. Like, I guess I just swear like a sailor. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn it this way.
Which I think the Sassy Carol, the one that's a little more cheeky, will be perfect for you.
Yes, yes, I backed both. I couldn't decide.
I think
Uh,
most people did. I think
yeah.
most people.
But what about you? What would you recommend?
To be honest, I would do a Rider-Waite Smith.
Yeah.
Uh, I would recommend is my favorite one. Oh, my favorite. I would recommend this specific one, the Neil Ryder, the one that I've been doing for the
Yeah.
one card study,
Yeah.
because I just think it's beautiful. It's the same imagery,
Yeah.
just the coloring is very, very different.
Nice.
But it would be a Rider-Waite Smith
Mm,
uh, original or clone
yeah.
that they love looking at, that makes them feel inspired. I think that's a great place to go.
Mm,
And then I have all my books up. There's one specific book that I would recommend. Let me get it,
uh-huh.
and I'll be
Yeah.
right back.
Absolutely.
So this is the book you mentioned.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's your book.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, for somebody who's brand new, who needs something that's easily digestible but has a lot of information, it
Mm.
is this one.
Oh, Teresa Reed, the tarot lady. I need to
This
look this up.
is a phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal book. To like, I'm highlighted all over the place.
On.
This is my favorite tarot learning book.
Hmm. I
It,
think I'll look into picking that up because if I want to learn traditional RWS, she's such a
this
good.
I'm telling you, this book is so good.
Yeah.
It it's it, it it's for I think it's for beginners and people for I'd say who are moderate readers.
Yeah.
This is a
Nice.
really, really good book. I love this book. Everybody recommends Rachel Pollack's what is
70
it?
degrees of
Yeah,
tarot.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say 4 degrees of separation. Oh, even that's wrong. Um, I started reading it. It's too much. It's too
Can
much. I think that's a book that I would read once I feel like efficiently comfortable with the deck.
Yeah.
But definitely my number one by
But
far.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
definitely checking that out. I did purchase 78 degrees, and I use it if I like want to reference one card meaning and I want to dive deeper, but I couldn't read it. It's just the same for me, just a lot to absorb, a lot to absorb.
I just brought it. If I was going to give one book, and
Mm,
this person would only have one book, and they would never be able to get another book,
yeah.
it's that really, really, really big, chunky one.
Mm,
Uh, what is it called? Oh my God! I used it all the time. She has her own deck, her own channel.
is it
I'm
the Biddy Tarot book? I'm not sure.
Let
No.
me go get it. I'm the worst. I'm horrible with names.
That's totally fine.
If I were going to give one book to somebody
Yeah.
that somebody who's brand new could
Mm,
really use for real, but
mm,
could use the rest of their tarot uh, journey, would
yeah.
be the holistic tarot.
Oh, by Beneville Wynn.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
The section for the tarot cards
Yeah.
is just a section. That's it for the tarot cards. That's
Huh.
it. Everything else is all the other nuance and
Okay.
symbology. And
Um,
so this is a book that it's a textbook.
yeah.
It's a true blue textbook. It's like the encyclopedia of tarot. So either this is what to start with, but
Yes.
you could buy other books later. But if
Yes.
you only had one book that you could afford to buy for the rest of your life, this is the book.
Mm, I need to pick that up as well. I've always been intimidated because it's a textbook and it's massive. But just seeing
But
you be, but this section is tarot. I'm like, I can do this.
it's like, okay, so let's take justice. Justice is this little section here. She talks about it a little bit, and then it's just 2 pages,
I can do this. Okay. Yeah.
and that's it. That's it.
It's
That's
awesome.
it.
Oh,
And
perfect.
there's a lot of information in here
Yeah.
that, can be found in this, but then
Mm,
there's a whole bunch more.
nice. Oh, intriguing. I'm learning so much.
Well, we are at the end of our chat.
Yes.
Do you have any last questions or parting words?
I would love to know. I know you have a lot of projects on your plate right now that you're currently going through, but what is a project that you're looking to do when some of these ongoing ones end? If you want to reveal it, of course.
Well, the membership for sure.
Mm,
Want to do, and then okay, I wasn't going to share this, but I will. Um, it's really sad.
Bless. Okay.
My dog died,
Yeah. I saw.
and so I'm doing a grief practice with
Mm,
um, some cards,
yeah.
and so when I finish, my little journey,
Yeah.
and I don't want to minimize when I say little journey, but grief is for me right now. It's just a blip because I just started. I want to do a really in-depth video on grief, but
Mm,
it's one in talking about the grief, like mental health wise,
mm,
and then about grief, that my personal grief with the loss of Precious.
yeah.
I'm going to tell you that it's been hard. It's
I
been
can.
really hard. I have a video. I did a video of her.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
so that's been really hard. And this is the thing, is that I was suppressing my grief. I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't
yeah.
like, somebody asked me about Precious, and I tell them she died. I don't want to talk about it. And then I would remove
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And so knowing that that's not healthy, I pulled out some cards, and I
Mm,
am working on my grief with her, and I'm doing it in a very specific way
mm,
that's very personal and I think helpful for me, that
yeah.
people can modify for themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that could be impactful and helpful to other people. So that's one that I think is going to be one that I'll do.
Absolutely. It's super impact. Like, I have had pets my whole life, and they're never pets. They're family.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Precious saved my life. Literally saved my life.
what you said when you said that. I was like, no, my cat right now is my emotional support animal, and she definitely, sometimes you don't want to get out of bed. And the fact that there is this being that is there makes you get up.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think it will be super impactful, and what a vulnerable thing to share, but it's so needed. We don't talk enough about grief. We just
No,
try
we
to,
don't.
yeah,
We do not.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was wonderful. I love this conversation.
Love our conversations.
I knew that I would love this conversation because when we did our one cards tarot study, I
Yeah.
had so much fun talking to you. Your
Me
energy is so
too.
infectious. I was
Oh,
like,
thank
I knew
you.
before we were done that I was going to ask you to do this because
You
I
so
really
much.
enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed this too, and I was really like, who am I? I'm like some random person with 20 subscribers. But it was such a nice conversation. I wrote it in my journal today. I was like, I'm gonna have this talk, and it's so rare. I'm looking forward to it because it's so rare to meet someone in the community that I just feel like a genuine connection to. And it's kind of in the same space of like not a beginner, but not, years and years into it. So it was so nice. Yeah, I'm so
Well,
glad I got up for this.
no, it was great. I was exhausted when I got home, but as soon as
Mm,
I was getting ready for this.
yeah.
Like my energy was up. I was ready to go. It's wonderful. These have been wonderful.
Oh,
But everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming on.
thank you for having
And my
me.
name is Benny. I am the Fool's Apprentice. And until next time, bye guys.
Bye.